Hello, hello. I'm on my way to two customers today in Chilliwack, and I'm excited. I'm excited because last night I wanted to drive. For me, I like the driving, and I'm getting paid for that. And also, the customers I go to have appealing jobs to me. I've done those before. I've been there. I know what's to be done, and it's not complicated. Requires some troubleshooting involved. I am actually on one, so it keeps my mind active. So I'm not going to work like a little robot, following some directions, instructions. Those are the younger guys who need to learn the process. But myself, I have to use the brain, and I love that. I love that, and. I thought to record some of the thoughts I had in the past, and since I post these ones for a kind of a very narrow area of the viewing, let's say, market on YouTube, there is no interest in this topic. So you are not an expert in philosophy or in psychology or something, and I'm not one of those. But I like to talk about this type of topics, and some of them are not, how to say it, they are not being taught in school because it's not a something that it's a general knowledge. So even you go to some sort of a higher education into a specialty field, the science and the knowledge, the human knowledge, did not reach that point yet to reveal. I mean, there are people who know this stuff, or they feel they, and a lot of other people talk about this type of stuff on the internet. But the way they do, they copy the concepts and they add some flavors and they post out their own videos. Acting like they have their own ideas, but there are not too many who can see the reality in a different light. Why? Because one thing is you accept only what you think is real to you, and you filter everything based on your five senses. So everything that you think of, you touch, you process by your brain, it comes from those five senses. And if something that you cannot measure, you cannot touch, and the science does not confirm it, because everything that's in the material world has to be confirmed by science. And if the science does not confirm those theories yet, nobody wants to touch the topic. Nobody wants to talk about, because they think other people would judge them, would think they are crazy. So most people don't want to lose friends. If you start talking about paranormal or something like that, yeah, you know what? That's a kind of it's a field of, it's not a science, but it's a field of human knowledge or human thinking. When lots of people, like a few million people, believe in paranormal. So if you talk about that, then you might appear as a weird or a strange guy, but still you don't lose friends. I mean, you may lose some friends, depends who's in your circle, but you don't lose all your friends. But if you start talking about something that's not only paranormal, but start explaining through scientific ways, but not accepted by the science, because the science needs to get funding in order to conduct experiments and come to conclusions. So there is no funding for such thing, because who is going to invest? Who is going to be the industrialist person or the government body who wants to invest in such topic? You know, this topic does not bring immediate gain. It does not bring you money. So these topics are weird. That's why I'm talking. It's a very narrow field, and since it does not have a backup, the science backup, people don't want to talk about it. And if you talk about it, you're weird, and nobody wants to stick around with people, because everyone else would tell them, oh yeah, you're friends with stupid, you're friends with weirdos, you're friends with and we don't want to associate with you. So people who love to keep their friendships, and they seek significance, belonging to a group, they don't want to lose those connections, because people are generally selfish. They look, what is the gain when I have this group of friends, this number of friends? What I lose if I connect with this person? What I gain when I connect with this person? So if you talk about something that makes you lose friends, I need to find the exit to my customer. So if you talk about something that causes you lose friends, so you don't gain anything but you lose, of course you're selfish, and you think, I'm not that stupid to approach a field. Let's say someone wants to do witchcraft, which I don't recommend, but someone wants to do witchcraft because they want to gain some power, I would say, which is not a power, which is a kind of an extra ability. But witchcraft, to do bad stuff, to alter someone, so that person who performed the witchcraft can prove that, I have a control over you. If you don't listen to what I'm saying, or if you don't follow, or if you mess up with me, I have power over you. So it's kind of a bullying using a different method. But other people would say, what, I don't want to stick around that guy because he practices witchcraft or something. So, or he is talking to the dead, or he is doing some sort of paranormal activity, and he can learn about my dark secrets. He can know about my weaknesses. So don't talk to that guy, because he will know. It's like don't talk to the witch, those psychics or something, because they may enter your space or your personal life, and they might extort you, which could be true. So again, that was kind of the small talk in a long 7-8 minutes. If you are still here, okay. If you are still here, listening to my type of talking about reality, how you alter the reality. Last night I saw a movie. It's called Flatliners, and it's a not for everyone liking. It's about how people like doctors in medical field, or students in medical field, I would say, cause themselves to die in order to travel or see what's after death. So afterlife, what it is, what happens in the brain, in the dying brain, what happens, what you see. So they had these experiences, and since they came back, so they had these classmates or friends or co-workers with high experience in resuscitating people, because they do work in an emergency room. So they managed to get back to life and share the experience, and then look at the data, because they while they were under this type of experiment, so while they were clinical like that, they were put into this MRI machine, and the brain was scanned, and they were looking at the brain scans after that, and discussed with the co-workers, which are also medical doctors, but only within a small group. Now, after the experiments, every single of these participants, they went in through some sort of a hallucination state. So they start seeing things, and they start seeing those people who they start seeing those people who they hurt in the past, with intent or without intent. And they start having this hallucination that actually cause themselves to harm. And one of the ladies, one of the students, like a medical doctor student, actually killed herself. So she jumped off the balcony and she died. So the other students went through similar experience, but luckily they got out unhurt, and they start sharing the experience with the other participants, and they realized that they go through some hallucinations and they didn't know why. And I'm not going to spoil the movie, and since it's not for everyone, I'm not going to detail it. But what happens in the movie, and the producer, movie director wants to kind of describe, is that the brain, when it goes through this type of altered states, can alter the information that come from your five senses. And if that information is being altered, then you can see or hear things. And when you hear and see things, then you react, act or react. And if you are trained, and if you are aware that the mind is playing tricks on you, then you can just sit, not move, and ignore the new input that comes through your senses, because you're aware. But since you're not aware, it's something new to you, then you think, I trust my senses. I trust my senses. So I follow, and my survival instinct kicks in. And if it's something scary, I try to get away. But those images that are fake could be triggered by the brain, or could be triggered by external entities. And I'm going to not to detail, but to describe a bit later, a couple of minutes, if you still have the patience. So if you trust those five senses because you grew up, and for 20, 30, 50 years, depends how old you are, you got used to trust and rely on these senses, and they are your trusted friend, and they tell you something, you listen because they served you well for so many years. And if suddenly you see a change, it's like you have a trusted friend and you don't know, but you still trust. Is you know that syndrome. It's not a syndrome. It's a phenomenon when a child trusts the guardian, but the guardian actually start tricking the child, or fooling the child, or taking advantage of the child. So the same thing, you start trusting your senses, they fool you, they trick you, and you react according to that input, and you make mistake. So it takes a while to lose trust, and you may have to go to a doctor to tell you have a schizophrenia. And who you trust? You trust the doctor, or you trust your senses? So now some people trust into the sixth senses. They call third eye, they call a clear audience, a clairvoyance, clear sentience. So they have this sixth sense, and they start trusting in that friend. And now they use that. Some people use that sixth sense as a reliable source, or as a backup to double check the material senses. And I had to change the camera. I don't have a camera holder and I don't want to have one in the car, and I'm driving this wavy road. And so you trust those senses, the extrasensorial senses, which are, some people call it paranormal, but is a sixth sense. And some people, like I said, they use that as a backup, to compare. Like people say, you know what, I go on a dark alley and I hear, or I feel I heard something, and then I listen to my gut feeling. Or I talk to someone and I don't know if that person is trustworthy, and I listen to my heart. So those are senses just as a backup, but other people fully rely on those senses. So I know someone in Romania, actually I saw that person in action. She's a blind woman, so she lost the sight since she was like a 7 or 11 years old, something like that. So she developed, after a couple of years of being totally blind, she developed a sense that helped her to see through people's bodies. And now she is making a living out of helping people to discover diseases that the doctors can't see. And she's working in a medical clinic, so she is a trustworthy person. So she has to rely on one of these extra friends, extra sensors that tell her, you know, this is what's going on from outside. So that extra sense is building her own reality, and it's a reality that she relies on. So we can rely on our senses and build our reality, but how do we know if it's a fake or not? And then another thing is related to the same topic. Some people know that there are dark spirits floating around, and I posted different video about the matter and how all the material things and living things are made out of energy clusters. Okay, and I'm not detailing in this video because it's going to be too long, but I'm not going to detail how each tissue, all the way down to atoms and electrons of your body, of your material or physical body, are made out of energy clusters. But the thing is, these energy clusters are part of a field. So we live in a field. Some people call it God, or the universe, or the energy, or the source. The science, again, does not give you a backup on that, because they don't have an instrument to measure. So they kind of came up with some sort of a quantum field theory. I came up with this theory a long time ago. I'm not a scientist, again, and I'm not smart. But I came out with this theory a long time ago, and I felt this is the way it is. And I was a kind of a weak person. I thought, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm not quite sure. Maybe my creative mind is making up stuff. I did not trust anything that was coming to me. And I was afraid, I was too weak, and I was afraid to say this one to people, because people would think I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm a crazy person. Okay, so I did not share that. But over the time I heard that, you know, there are other people believing in such thing. And now the science, I mean, it's not now, it's long time